concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know. Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go.
I wanted the music to keep going.
Between city lights, we don't have to hide.
The music was supposed to keep going. I didn't know it would stop.
There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there.
Let's play it out.
Nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? I hope you enjoyed that. I wonder how long I could just keep playing that over and over and over again until, you know, do something like Too Many Cooks. You guys know that Too Many Cooks, the video I'm referring to, where it just slowly gets more and more surreal and weird. It's Monday night. It's 8 p.m. It's time for some Q. It's time for some Q&A. My address is right there. Oh, no. My address. People, yeah, it's not a big deal. Trust me. Don't come visit me. But somebody asked what headset I use. This is the Audio-Technica ATH40. It's about $60, and it's a pretty good, like, I wanted a reference headset, not like a headset that's going to, like, color the music, because that's just how I am. So, Audio-Technica ATH40. It's about $60. It's a pretty good headset. Not wireless, though. Rick Love, Runcam 5 Orange review is coming this week, Rick Love asked. It's coming this week. Yep, no worries. It's coming. So, yeah, this is what we do. In case you're new here, you ask questions, I answer questions, and we just hang out for a couple hours. So, but at the beginning, I like to do a little bit of news of the day, and I just would like to get ahead of this. Something from my past has been discovered. And it's good to stay, you know, to just get ahead of it. Before I was into drones, I was into tractors and homesteading, farming and stuff. And some of my patrons over on my Discord were talking about this. So I thought I would just get this right out of the way before they all flood the live stream with questions about. Yeah, before I was helping people with drones, I was a very, very active member on this tractor forum, this homesteading and tractor forum, and I was member of the month one time. Nice try, guys. Yep, as you can see, I had 1,500 posts, and you can find out all about what I was doing back in 2012. Yep. So, yeah, there's JB with a, look at that. Look at that. Come on. Look at that. Oh, that tractor was so fun. It was so expensive. It was such a, I really didn't need a tractor. I just like wanted a tractor so bad. I was like, no, we'll use it. I'll use it for so many things. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to own a tractor. I was gonna tell you. Look, these are all pictures of stuff from around my house back in the day. Ducks, pigs. This was one of the years we raised pigs. This is one of the years we raised sheep. Hello, sheep. Those are cool sheep. Sheep were cool. This guy was an asshole. This guy here, asshole. A real asshole. Bucks are assholes. Yeah. Anyway. So there you go, patrons. Now you don't have to interrupt the live stream with questions about farming. All right, guys. What else? What else is in the news of the day? In case you missed my video this morning, I'm going to be hosting a live stream tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern time. What an odd time for DRL tryouts, but okay. I guess I don't know. There you go. I'm going to be hosting the DRL tryouts. I released a video today. No, we did not eat him. He was way too old to be turned into food. You gotta, when they're young, they're better. When they get old, they're really gamey. So, yeah, so news of the day. In other news, don't forget that February 28th and 29th is the UFDA protest in Washington, D.C., right outside the FAA headquarters. We will be doing a protest. UFDA is heading it up, but a whole bunch of people are going, and I will be going. If you can make it out there, wonderful. I know some people have been like curious, like what kind of protest are we talking about here? It's a peaceful protest. We're just going to, give speeches and hopefully so the news will come out and cover it and get us some coverage and maybe we'll pick it a little bit. But, yeah, so that is other news in the day. So, alrighty, well, that's it. Let's do some questions. Let's do some questions. That's what we're going to do. In case you're new here, this is what's going on. This is my main screen. Main screen turn on. Up here in the upper right are the plebs. These are just the regular folks. And I'm going to be taking your questions. Hello, George FPV. There you go. See, just like that. Down here in the lower right is the super chats. Super chat is a way that you can, throw a couple bucks at me and make sure that I get your question, because the questions come by so fast and furious that I don't always get them all. I can't possibly get them all. Batteries for Tiny Hawk 2. I like the Emax 450 milliamp hour packs, and also Race Day quads. I know for a fact has some 450s that are designed for it. I'm pretty sure the Race Day quads are OEM'd GNB packs, which is a good thing. So there you go. See, if you want to throw a couple bucks, hit that $ right here and leave a super chat. I will get to the super chats in just a little bit, but I don't like to just start right out with the super chats. Make the plebs feel good. Matt Miller asks, any chants that you have for the protest? If you guys have ideas for things we can chant for the protest, it has, catchy chants. Put them in the chat. Let's see what we can come up with. It's got a rhyme, right? And then over here on the left, these beautiful, beautiful people are my patrons over on my Discord server. If you want to join my Discord server, you can become a patron. Link in the video description for that. And I will be shouting them out and answering their questions as well. And that's it. That's what we're going to do. Daydog92 says, why do all the reviewers that got the Orca goggles don't use them? Is it worth buying them? Daydog92, I use my Orca goggles. I especially like the fact that the DVR in the Orca is very good. I have a PowerPlay DVR, which is an external DVR from Immersion RC, and it's also very good, but I do like having just a built-in DVR, so I don't need any extra stuff. On the flip side, I do like that the HDOs have adjustable diopter. For someone with as bad a prescription as me, the ability to just adjust and dial in that diopter, but still to be able to share goggles with somebody else is a big plus. I go back and forth between my Orcas and my HDOs and my DJIs. I can't speak for anybody else, though. OCD FPV, I have not done the drawing yet for the protest. Let's see. Fly or die? I think we should stay away from chanting the word die because it might be taken the wrong way. You know what I mean? Fly or die! That could be seen as, threats of violence. We don't want that. Let's see. You'll take my drone from my cold, dead hands. F-U, F-A-A. This is freedom land. I don't know. That's not good. 507RC asks, you're referencing yesterday's live stream where we talked about underground FPV. Did underground FPV disappear totally now? I haven't done any more research, but someone, maybe it was you, looked at the DNS records and told me that the domain was sold in December of 2019, not that long ago. If that's true, I mean, we looked at the Underground FPV website, and it sure looked like it had been sold to just basically a link farmer. So, yeah, it feels like they are out of business. So, less crying, more flying. Okay. Let's see. Give me FPV freedom or give me jail time. Doesn't really have a chant to it, does it? Joe Dirt says, you guys going to fly at the protest? No! Hang on, sorry. No one. No. It is in the entire city of Washington, D.C. is a giant no-fly zone. For reals, no-fly zone. Do not bring a drone to the protest. Do not even bring a tiny whoop to the protest. Do not. Do not. If anybody is at the protest and you see someone get out a set of FPV goggles or a controller, I would not advocate that you slap it out of their hand because that would be advocating violence and I wouldn't do that. But seriously, do not. The worst thing that could happen would be for someone at this protest to do some dumb shit like dive the FAA headquarters, which would be hilarious for about 1 hour, and then it would be so bad. Do not. There will be, I hear that UFDA is organizing some kind of a fly-in after the protest, away from the no-fly zone, somewhere legal. No one will be flying at the protest. Do not bring anything like that. Okay. 75 Game Dog finally got his OSD to show through his DJI goggles. That's good. That's good. Let's see here. KD2RDH Larry says, you say, this is how I make a living. Could you explain your different revenue streams? I'd like to know how to make a living helping people with stuff. That's an interesting question, Larry. Let's see. What are my revenue streams? Patreon is a big one. There's YouTube ad revenue, like, exists, but isn't like a huge number. I think most people who want to go full-time cannot depend on YouTube ad revenue until you get like really big. Patreon ad revenue and affiliate revenue. Those are the three sort of major ones. Patreon is an interesting one because if you are providing value, people will support you. If you look at Aaron Ciotti has started doing live streams. He's not really at a point where he gets enough views. I would guess. I mean, I don't like know any secrets about his channel, but I would guess he's not getting that much in ad revenue, but people really value what he does and they join his Patreon, and it does add up. The key thing is to help people and provide value. As long as you are doing that, then hopefully, people will value that and will support you. How to make a living at it. Here's how I got to the point where I could do this full time. Do it full time for like 3 years for free. And then eventually you get to a point where you could quit your day job. But like there was at least 2 years where in addition to having a day job, I was spending like every spare minute working on the channel. And now I spend the same amount of time, but it's my day job too. Anyway, Budget FPV says, have you thought about trying to get a set of goggles on the FAA people? Budget, it's a tough one because on the one hand, there is a sense in which the FAA doesn't really know who we are. But in another sense, I like the idea that you would put FAA goggles on the administrator of the FAA and suddenly she'd be like, whoa, this is so awesome. What were we doing? I don't see that. I don't see that happening. Wow. Big Oily Guy says, Bardwell tore that DRL track up. Well, maybe. I mean, I feel like I gave it my all, but I was only 275th at the time, which is not that good. Shadow FPV, I also worry about someone not affiliated with us flying a drone around. I hope that doesn't happen. It's someone who wanted to mess us up certainly could do that, and we wouldn't look good. Excuse me. I'm a little sniffly this morning or this evening. Wilbo in the Discord says, is the USB charging mod for the T16 coming soon? I think you mentioned it was coming down the pipe. Yeah, I can confirm. Jumper has reached out to me and showed me photos of the USB-C and USB charging mod that they will be releasing soon. Basically, you change out the USB board. The USB plug is on a little circuit board, so it's easy to change out. Just change the ribbon cable, and then there's an additional set of wires that will solder up to a point, and will let you have internal charging. So that's coming from Jumper. I really expected. Here's the thing: when Radio Master announced that their TX16S radio, which is basically just a Jumper T16, just made by Radio Master. when they announced that that would have USB-C and internal charging, I thought, well, clearly Jumper's just going to do this. It's not like, oh, how did they accomplish this? So I was like, clearly Jumper is going to do the same thing. But I'm really impressed that Jumper is releasing it as a mod that you can apply to your existing radio instead of just updating the radio and saying everybody who bought the old radio is screwed. Jumper has really impressed me when they released the internal multi-protocol module. They made it available to everybody, and you could just spend $10 and have it instead of having to buy a whole nother radio. So it's very, very nice that they're doing that, and that I don't know exactly the timing on it, but it is coming. Zach Cagesley says, after I made my comment, I looked through the rest. There were a lot of really good comments, but I'm highly concerned that a lot of the comments are only referencing saving their balsa wood airplanes. Yeah, I mean, what can you do about that? There's nothing you can do. Some people are going to approach this from a perspective of screw the FPV pilots, screw the DJI pilots. We just want to fly our balsa wood airplanes. The willingness to throw people under the bus in the face of injustice. It's a natural instinct. It is a harmful instinct. I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed, but not really disappointed because you kind of see it coming. You'll see this in any movement where people are threatened. The first thing they do is they turn on themselves. And it doesn't change the fact that all of us are threatened in the same way. So the more infighting we have, the worse off we all are going to be. And not everybody is going to feel that way or realize that. Some people are always going to want to save themselves and at the expense of somebody else. There's nothing you can really do about that, though. Zach Cagley, remote ID, not for me. That's not bad. That's pretty good. Remote ID, not for me. That's not bad. That's not bad. Remote ID. How about something about the FRIAs? I want a picket sign that says the whole world is my FRIA. Remote ID, not in class G. It's not that good. Bill Riffett asks, have you had a chance to look at the new Eachine goggles? The Eachine EV300D. My review of the Eachine EV300D is coming tomorrow. And I'm also super annoyed that Albert Kim, I think it's him. He released his on Monday or Sunday. And I was like, ooh, you beat me. You beat me. Damn it. Damn it. Remote ID, not in class G. Yeah. So Captain Morgan in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Captain Morgan. Captain Morgan is in my Discord server with all my other patrons for as little as $2 a month or more if you feel like I've earned it. You can join my Discord or join my Patreon and be a member of my Discord server. Captain Morgan in the Discord says, between the HDOs and the HDO2s, is it so much of a difference to make the jump if coming from the HD3s? Captain Morgan, that's a very good question. So in my opinion, the HDO2 is definitely $100 better than the HDO. Okay? So if you assume the HDO is $400 and the HDO2 is $500, don't look twice. Get the HDO2. However, the HDO2, some people have problems with their eyelashes brushing against the sort of curved lens of the goggle. I don't have that problem. I use the Newbie Drone goggle foam, which is thicker, and I think that's why I don't have that problem. But just that's easy to fix. Just spend $10 on the Newbie Drone goggle foam. You're done. The other thing is the HDO2s have like a round lens sort of holder, and then a square screen in there. And some people find the outline, like I just don't even see it. When I'm flying, I just don't even see it. But some people feel that that's a little distracting and prefer the style of optics on the HDO. But speaking purely of the optical quality and the size of the image, the HDO2 is better. I think it's better, no question, than the HDO, and I feel like it's definitely $100 better than the HDO. Yeah. John Coopy, I'm going bonkers right now trying to find what letter ESC I use before flashing JESC. Where do I find that in BL Heli Suite 32? John, BL Heli Suite 32, BL Heli 32 ESCs don't use JESC. JESC is for BL Heli SESCs. The good news is you don't need JESC. You can just try 48 kilohertz PWM. It's built in to BL Heli 32. So you don't need JESC if you have BL Heli 32. You're all good. All right, it's about 20 minutes into the live stream. Let's get some super chats out of the way. Thank you to everybody who has donated via super chat. William Croth, thanks for $2. Sup, William? Easy peasy. Zimmergy JWT, thank you for $2. Bite Frost Shark Bite release in spring. As like a pro, I feel like I should know what Shark Bite is, but I don't know what Shark Bite is. What is Shark Bite? Is it like I'm going to guess it's a digital module, goggle module? Bitefrost release in spring. Bitefrost is already released, right? What is Shark Bite? Somebody tell me. Shark Bite. Somebody tell me what that is. I don't know what that is. I haven't heard anything, Zymer-G. Thank you for your super chat. I haven't heard anything, though. Ho Operator, thank you for $5. The new FAA rules are in violation of U.S. Code 241 and 242, I believe. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say about that. I don't know what U.S. Code 241 and 242 is, but if you feel like you have a legal challenge to remote ID, that's all just us sitting around drinking at the pub. I'm American. I don't know why I said the pub. The bar. The pub. Anyway, I have an international audience. It's all just sitting around bullshitting, if I may speak freely. Because unless you are going to hire a lawyer or find a lawyer, like from the ACLU, to sue the FAA. So the thing is, when someone breaks the law and no one holds them to account, they get away with it. So if the FAA is violating U.S. Code 241 and 242, it doesn't matter unless you're going to sue them over it. Now, if you can convince a lawyer to sue them, more power to you. But I will say that just because unless you are a lawyer yourself, versed in federal law, just because it looks like something breaks the law on the surface to a lay person, oftentimes you talk to a lawyer and they go, oh no, the words don't mean what it sounds like they mean. And they tell you why it doesn't actually have a case. So I wish that were true, Ho Operator. It may or may not be true, but if we're not going to sue them, it doesn't really matter. Underdog FPV, thank you for $5. In your Orca interview, they mentioned trying to partner with DJI for future products. Have you heard anything more about this? I have only... Orca likes to waggle their eyebrows at you and go, yes, maybe. It's unclear what they actually have cooking. At the moment, they seem to be working very hard on delivering goggles to customers. That seems to be the thing people are most interested in. What they might be doing in the future, I don't know. It would be fantastic if they did have a digital goggle module that was DJI capable. For the time being, though, who knows? I don't have any information. That's all I can say. Kim Kalfas Jr., thanks for $5. Mic drop. Thank you, Jim. Rod Clark, thank you for £10. What analog receiver could you recommend for DJI goggles that is not a module-based receiver? Rod, I got to tell you, the best analog receivers these days are module-based receivers. There are some ground stations, but they just don't have the latest technology. I mean, I guess I would point you at the Clearview ground station if you just absolutely don't want a module. But why wouldn't you just spend $15 on that little bracket adapter for the DJI goggles and use a module like a Rapidfire, a True DX, of TBS Fusion? Any of those modules are going to do a great job. If you absolutely want a ground station, I guess I would point you at the Clearview ground station. It's really expensive, though, and it doesn't perform that much. I mean, Is it better than rapid fire? I mean, it's at least as good, but it's like 4 times, 3 times, two times more expensive, whatever it is now. Matt Miller says it is possible to crowdfund legal representation. Yeah, I would be all for it. I mean, I do feel like I would really like someone to sue the FAA over this. But what we need is a professional lawyer who is an expert at suing the government and interpreting federal law. Just you and me sitting around and going, hey, Code 241 seems like it's pretty good. What about U.S. versus Cosby? No, you need an expert to tell you how to make this work. And I think that's harder. But that expert might be out there. I mean, Brendan Schulman defended Trappy against the FAA. He works for DJI now. Maybe someday he will be in, maybe DJI will sue the FAA over this. Nah, that probably won't happen. It would be so cool if it did, though. Zach Cagley, thanks for $5. Zach, I hope I'm saying your name right. I hope it's not Cagely, but there's no E after it, so I hope it's Cagley. JJB, love all you do for us. Please put this towards your FAA comment efforts. Thank you, Zach. Daniel Cole, thanks for $2. Drone ID only makes them happy. Only, yeah, I'm not sure it's punchy enough. How about something that focuses on the fact that we fly safely? Yeah, what rhymes with safe, though? Don't destroy our hobby. We can't afford to lobby. That's actually, I really like that one. I really like that one. Don't destroy our hobby. We can't afford to lobby. Go crying to your mommy. Bitefrost owner's thread, post 1327. Let's see if how I can go to post. How do I go to post 1327? How do I go to a specific post? I don't want to go to a page. I want to go to a post. How about this? 1327. Post 751. Go to page. How about 100? 1327. I'm close. 85. 1261. 87. 1291. 89. Wait. 1327. 1321. 22, 27. There's a bite for us. VRX cost. Fat Shark says, I'm not going to post any videos or photos, but final release is on schedule for spring. I've been enjoying flight testing the Goggle module. Wow. Wow. Oh, wow. Well, that's as official as it gets, isn't it? Final release is on schedule for spring. I'm going to guess that's Alan from Fat Shark. So that's exciting. The confirmation that Goggle with built-in module exists is very exciting. At the end of the day, I will express the same reserved and polite skepticism that I do with any new exciting product. When Furious FPV True DX was announced, people were like, "Yeah, it's going to be so good," and I was like, "Well, let's wait and see." And I mean, I've said that about everything. So I hope that it's amazing. When we see how it performs, then we will know. But for now, of course, hype will build, and I will take a wait and see attitude. But that's exciting that it's coming. Thank you for pointing that out to me, ZemerGJWT. William Croth. That's an interesting chant, William. Thank you for $2, but I'm not going to read that chant. Prairie Mac FPV, thank you for $3. When is the JBF7 coming out? The JBF7, it all depends on when this stupid coronavirus thing lets people go back to work. So I know some people in some areas have gone back to work. I saw that HQ is back at work and T-Motor is back at work. I think iFlight is not back at work. It just, they have to get back to work before we can work on the flight controller. So It's at least a couple months, and it just depends on when they get back to work. Obviously, their health comes first. IR Squibs, thanks for $5. I lifted the S-Bus pad on the JB flight controller. No soft serial. I did the invert hack on my XM Plus. I still can't get them to talk on UART 6. IR Squibs, the invert hack is the right thing to do. If you do the invert hack and you use RX6 pad, you need to go into the CLI and you need to type set serial RX _ inverted equals on. That's what you need to do. If you do the invert hack, you have to change that CLI option just to tell the flight controller that you've done the invert hack. Sean Searman, thank you for $20. Big donation. Thank you, Sean. Drones are part of my everyday life with my 4 kids and wife. I literally was almost brought to tears the other morning when my 2-year-old woke me up and said, "Dad, where's my drone?" Chant, remote ID is hypocrisy. That's not bad. That's catchy. Like, what does it mean? I don't know what it means, but it's catchy. I like it. Kegley. Zach Kegley confirms that is his name. There we go. We're caught up on Super Chats. Let me get back to the plebs here. Baytech is in Scotland, where it's 1:27 a.m. Oh, my gosh. Thank you for sticking around, Baytech. Drone me once, shame on you. Drone me twice, I'll poo on you. Thank you, Zorro. It's a big honor having Zorro in my live stream. Zorro, I'm gonna make him a moderator. Don't abuse your power, Zorro. Zorro, I love Zorro's gorilla whooping videos. Even though people say that his videos are like ruining the hobby, it's such harmless trolling. It's such harmless and hilarious trolling. And like, if you were doing the same pranking or trolling with not a drone, it would be harmless. But the fact that he's doing it with a drone, people freak out. But I love it, Zorro. I love your sense of humor, dude. OCD FPV in the Discord wants to know what would cause a black box in my video that takes up the majority of the goggle screen. OCD FPV, that's a tough one. It could be, like, let's think about what kind of things can draw on your screen. It could be the Betaflight OSD could be making a black box appear on screen. That seems really unlikely. Or the camera could be doing it. It's really mostly the VTX wouldn't do that. So it's mostly going to be a process of elimination. I doubt that it could also be your receiver module. Your receiver module could be trying to like show a menu or something. It's really going to be process of elimination. For example, if you see the black box but your friend doesn't, that guarantees that it's your receiver module or your goggles. If you and your friend both see the black box, then it's on the quad. At that point, I would probably like swap the camera, and if it still happens, then it's a flight controller. But it's really just process of elimination. Big Data Pimp points out some goggles will put a box on screen when the SD card is full. That's true. If you're using a camera like a split camera or a Tarsier, it could be putting a menu on screen. That's a really good point. Zorro, Zorro? Zorro says he's coming to DC. Zorro? You're not going to gorilla whoop the protest, Zorro, right? Okay. I really shouldn't talk to him. I mean, Zorro's a grown man. He doesn't need me talking to him like that. Sorry, Zorro. That's disrespectful. I'm just playing it up for the live stream. But seriously. I mean, he might do it. Below the trees, no IDs. I like that. I like that. Joseph Bulkia. Joseph, Joe, my friend Joe there, says, my CL1 isn't sending video. Everything is wired correctly. Everything appears to be working just fine, but I can't find anything on the goggles. Joseph, here are a couple things I would try. Number one, verify for sure that the VTX is turned on. Every VTX will get at least warm, if not hot, when it's powered on. So if the VTX is cool, then it's probably not turned on. Then you could check with a multimeter to be sure it's getting voltage. If the VTX has any kind of LED or display or light that could verify that it's powered on. The other thing that can happen is that if you're using Betaflight 4.1, then you have to set up VTX tables. And if your VTX table is screwed up, then some VTXs will lock themselves in pit mode. Some VTXs will lock themselves at 25 milliwatts. I'm not 100% sure. Like, if they don't like the VTX table, they kind of try to shut down. And it may be that your VTX table is screwed up, and the VTX is doing that. I would normally expect it to have at least some visible signal. What you could do is you can go to the ports tab, disable smart audio, and then the VTX will just be like, oh, okay, everything's cool now. And then it may come back. Those are a couple things you can check. But you definitely, if you're only seeing static in the goggles, you definitely need to be checking the VTX, not like the camera or the flight controller. "400 feet or below should be free for show," says Matt. That's a good one, Matt. "I have 2 motors that don't spin on the same side," says Hugo Hebert. Yeah, so when you have a motor that doesn't spin, you swap the motor. If that still doesn't spin, you swap the ESC. That's the gist of it. If you have 2 of them, then it does kind of point to the ESC. Leo Simmons. Leo Simmons says, "I try not to use DJI FPV goggles. I heard they use 5G and can cause brain cancer." No. I don't know if you're joking or not, Leo. 5G doesn't cause cancer. The kind of radiation that causes cancer is called ionizing radiation. It is the kind of radiation like, alpha, beta, gamma particles, whatever. I'm not an expert on radiation. It's the kind that turns you into the Incredible Hulk. 5G radiation is microwave radiation, and basically it's not energetic enough to cause the kind of DNA damage that causes cancer. All it does is raise the temperature of your body tissue. So, obviously, if you got into a microwave oven and turned it on, you'd be cooked. That would be very bad for you. Having 5G radiation near your body raises your body. It doesn't penetrate very much. It raises your temperature slightly. There are some people who feel that, obviously there are limits, like your cell phone. There are limits to how much output power it can use, but ultimately it's relatively harmless for the most part. So, "Don't ID my Frisbee." Cyberdrone FPV. Stop, Joshua. Read first. What am I reading? I can't read all the comments. They go by too quickly. How about the opening theme song of Firefly, "You Can't Take the Sky From Me"? That should be our theme song, shouldn't it? What are the lyrics to that? What are the lyrics? "Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care because I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me." Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's our... Yeah. That's going to be our theme song right there. I'm not going to play it here on the stream because I'll get copy struck. "You can't take the sky from me." And just like Firefly, we're going to get canceled after 1 season. Ouch. Boots to Monkey in the Discord wants to know, how do I get my OSD to stop cutting out under full throttle? If the OSD cuts out under full throttle, what's happening most likely is that electrical noise from the ESCs is disrupting the sync pulses that the flight controller uses to draw the OSD, to know when, to sync up the OSD with the video signal. Something like that. There's electrical noise. The answer is to figure out why the ESC is causing excess electrical noise. For example, you can move the ground wire for the camera and the video transmitter to the exact same pad. Instead of having like one on this side of the flight controller and one on that side, you move them to the same pad. You literally twist them together, solder them down. You can do the same thing for power. That is a thing that sometimes works. There are various ways of addressing that noise, but that's what you need to do is address the electrical noise coming from the ESCs. That's the first thing I would do. If you're powering the, if you're powering the video transmitter from VBAT, power it from a regulator instead. That'll usually clean it up at least a little. Sim Racing Garage, thanks for $2. Orca DJI module, news or thoughts? No news. Thoughts, it would be great to see a module for a third-party goggles. It would be great. The thing is, like, you want a goggle that can do DJI and analog at the same time. The DJI goggle can do it. Okay? As good as Orca is, the DJI goggle can do it, and it's freaking, you know, the Orca is what, $650? If I remember right, it's $650, and then you got to buy a rapid fire too, so that's $750, $800. I mean, DJI goggles come in under $600 and can do DJI and analog. Well, okay, you got to buy a rapid fire too, so $750. It's $100 cheaper. The downside is that the DJI goggles don't have the OLED screens, and the OLED screens on the Orcas are freaking amazing. So, would I take DJI goggle with an analog module or Orca with a DJI module? I'd take Orca with the DJI module. Yeah, no question. No question. Yeah, even for $100 more, I'd do it. James Barwick, thank you for 20 Australian dollars. Huge fan. I bought a Ladrib quad from Rotor Riot. Wow, you bought it and shipped it to Australia. That's you are a huge fan. It's my first quad ever. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Killer BFPV test fail safe. Test fail safe, James. Before you fly it, take your props off, plug it in, arm it, and then turn your transmitter off. The motors must stop. If that doesn't happen, don't fly the quad, because it's going to just fly. It could just fly away and never be seen again. Killer BFPV, thanks for $2. Brown coats now required at the protest. Brown coats a reference to the Firefly, the television show, not any other potential brown coat reference. I don't know if brown coats have any other implications anywhere else in the world. Ho Operator, thanks for $5 more. I tore the IR filter off my camera and now I have night vision. Yeah. Yep. You can, if the IR filter was on your lens, you can replace the lens and get that back. Or you just keep flying it like it is. Maybe you like it. Doghouse FPV in the Discord wants to know if there are triple quad or whatever diversity systems available. Doghouse FPV, the Eachine EV300D and the EV200D have quadversity. There were systems that people worked with in the past where you had two diversity modules and then you had a video switcher that would do video combining. In general, there aren't a lot of those out there, though, like quadversity. Eachine is the one. Yeah. Nick Schwartz, Nick Schwartz says, I hate to be the person to correct you, but I think the TBS Tango 2 uses a 1S battery, not a 2S. You are correct about that, Nick. I got that wrong in my review. I said 2S, but it is a 1S. That was my mistake. Ryan J, I'm not bald. Hey, Ryan. Look, there's hair. There's hair up there. Look at that. That's hair. What are you talking about? I'm not bald yet. I just cut my hair short. I like short hair. I'm getting there. I mean, I'm gonna be bald. I shouldn't complain. What are you gonna do, man? Andrew Mitchell says, hey, how do you tell if the regulator on the 4-in-1 ESC is blown? Could this be the reason power doesn't get to the flight controller? Andrew, most flight controllers these days run off of VBAT power. And if an ESC has a VBAT output, there's no regulator. It just passes it through. There's nothing to blow. It's just a trace on the circuit board. So there isn't much that would cause VBAT not to come out of the VBAT wire, unless it just literally burned the trace or something. If the ESC has a regulator, the way to tell if it's working is to test the output pin with a multimeter and see if the voltage is there. That's it. Jacob Donenfeld wants to know, should I bother upgrading from an F4 to an F7? If you have an F4 and it's working for you, just keep flying it until you break it and then get an F7. These days, F4 is still viable. F7s are, I mean, F4 won't be viable for like when will, F3s just got dropped with 4.1. So I think F4's got at least another year before Betaflight doesn't support it. I personally will be glad to see F4 go, because the stupid issues with UART inversion make so much trouble for so many people. It's such a pain in the ass. But F4 is still viable. I wouldn't throw an F4 out. Edgy FPV, what's my goal for the DRL tryouts tomorrow? Edgy FPV, I will be co-hosting the DRL tryouts at 3:30 Eastern Time. I will not be competing because after hours of practice and trying and tearing my hair out and smashing my controller, I got to like number 275. So I clearly have no chance of winning. I never thought I did. But I'm glad to be invited to co-host, which is something I'm actually good at. So is DRL a decent sim for learning or practice? Tria Photo, yes. Any of the sims is good for learning and practice. None of the sims are perfect. All of them will, especially if you're just a ranked beginner, all of them will make you improve and help you. Calabrese 221 is asking about FLARM alerts. How do I get the FLARM display on my OSD? I don't know that Betaflight supports the FLARM display, Calabrese. I'm not sure that Betaflight even supports it. I mean, I'm totally shooting from the hip here, and so please don't take this. Please take this with a grain of salt. If I wanted to get FLARM, I would assume that like you have to be using the TBS Evo, which has a built-in OSD that TBS designed. I would just expect that the TBS Evo has the full TBS, support. Whereas Betaflight, like when I look in the Betaflight OSD tab, I don't see any option for FLARM. So I assume Betaflight doesn't support it, but I assume TBS does, and that you would need to be using the Evo OSD. But at the end of the day, you should just ask in the TBS Lounge or something, and they will answer your question there. They're really helpful. The guy in his camera says, which sim do you feel is best? I can't answer that question. Like, I like all of the sims I've flown. And especially because, like, DRL, I mean, I'm doing this promotion with DRL. I've done sponsored stuff with Liftoff in the past. Like, there's just no way I could pick one and be taken seriously. So I have fun with all of them. I like racing on Velocidrone. Velocidrone has an amazing community of racers. They run races like every week. DRL, of course, I mean, DRL is the only simulator where if you're good enough, you could literally become a professional drone pilot. Nobody else can offer a seat on an NBC television program and a tens of $1,000s a year contract. And Liftoff has my house in it. And I met the Liftoff guys out in Hasselt, and they took me out for fries and beer. So they've got that going for them. No. They all have their own pros and cons, and I enjoy them all. I think there's no way I could like say one was the best at any one thing. Yeah. So. Will DJI put Betaflight OSD warnings? Asks Nick Schwartz in the Discord. I sure hope so, Nick Schwartz. I feel like the lack of the warning OSD element in the DJI OSD is major. Like if I would give up one of the other ones to get the warning element. Scarecrow FPV in the Discord says, since the Runcam Micro Eagle is on its way out, are you planning on releasing another camera? Yeah, I'm sorry to see the Eagle going. I love the Eagle. I will have to pick another camera. Like, when it comes to frames, I don't really have a favorite. I just try different things. When it comes to flight controllers, literally, I could care less. I could almost care less. Just like, whatever. Just give me a flight controller. I'm going to put it on I just make it work. But cameras are so personal. Like, cameras, like the image that you're seeing when you're flying is so personal. I probably will pick another favorite camera. I'm sorry to see the Eagle on the way out. The issue with the Eagle is Number one, just the hobby wants new things, right? So, you know, the fact that the Eagle is not new and hot and sexy means that it doesn't sell as well as if it were new and hot and sexy. But the other thing is, the Eagle has a sensor in it that isn't used in any other camera. So, like, there are cameras that share sensors and they're tuned a little differently or something. But, like, if you're a run camera or Foxeer, you buy 40,000 sensors or 20,000 sensors and you make so many cameras and you sell the cameras and you're all good. But in order to keep making the Eagle, they would have to buy, like, a lot of this one sensor. And especially given that the Eagle isn't a new product, it's questionable whether they would make their money back. And that's why the Eagle's going away. The last order they made is going to sell out. They don't think that it'll make sense to keep making more. What is FLARM? Asks UAV Tech. FLARM is see and avoid technology from TBS. Pavillage, how do I select uppercase with the Tango 2? Long press doesn't work. Really? I don't know about that. That's really weird. Cadex Rattel, Foxeer Toothless, and Runcam Phoenix 2, says MC's Creations. I like the Rattel. The Rattel actually is very close to the Eagle. I do agree. Sync FPV points it out. And Scarecrow, I hope you're listening because you asked the question. The Cadex Rattel is very similar to the Eagle in its picture. The thing I like the most about the Eagle, though, is how tweakable it is. The Eagle, you can adjust the contrast. You can adjust the WDR. So whatever your lighting condition, whatever you want out of the Eagle, you can tweak it to make it look how you want. Whereas something like the Rattel or the Phoenix or the Sparrow, they just don't have that tweakability. And so, like, you're just kind of stuck with it. It's unfortunate. James Barwick, thank you for 20 Australian dollars. 20 more Australian dollars. Thank you, James. That's $40 you give in total. Thank you for your generosity. What should I know for a pre-built Ladrib quad off the bat, minus setting the failsafe? I mean, James, you assuming that you didn't buy it with the transmitter, you're going to need to bind the transmitter. You're going to need to check, you know, here, what I would say, James, is this. I want you to check this video out, James. It is my Jumper T16, how to bind and set up new model. And even if you don't have a Jumper T16, if you have any other OpenTX radio, which you should, these steps are the same, just the screens look a little different, okay? But everything I do in this video, you will need to do with your new Ladrib quad from Rotor Riot. And this is basically the setup for every, like, new quad. The check your channel map, etc. I'm not sure I test the failsafe in this, to be fair, but this is what I would suggest you check out that video, James. Thank you for your donations. I'm going to tag you right here. Okay. Creepy Mouse, thanks for $10. Will the equipment from your perfect freestyle quad that you did a year ago fit into the newer Apex frame? So Creepy Mouse, what I would suggest is, if you're going to follow along with that video, my gut feeling is it probably will fit into the Apex, because the Marmot frame that I put it in, or the Chameleon frame, it's not super roomy. So my gut feeling is it will fit. I would suggest that you consider getting my 2208 motors instead of my 2407 motors. The 2407s are 100 kV higher and can be a little harder on the battery if that's not what you're going for. The 2208s, we made them a little lower kV. They still perform really well, but they're just a little easier on the battery. And these days, I'm putting the 2208s on my builds, not the 2407s. Jason, thank you for 15 Australian dollars. Would love to see you do another video on your Beast class, maybe with some tuning tips. Yeah, I haven't been flying the Beast class lately. I've kind of been busy. Parts for Ben Toys says, can we pull some cash to get these sensors? How much can they be? Well, here's the thing, Parts for Ben Toys. When Runcam first told me about this, they said the minimum order quantity was 40,000 units. That's a lot of freaking cameras that they would need to sell. It's a lot of cameras. 40,000. And then ask yourself, how much are the sensors? Like, are they $1? Are they $2? Are they $5? Like, ask yourself, out of a $50 camera, remember the Runcam Eagle, it was like, I don't know if it's come down lately, but it originally was like $45, $50. So think about the fact that the Eagle was a $45 or $50 camera, whereas most other cameras are $25, $35. Where do you think that $10 comes from? I mean, probably this sensor, right? So this could be a $5 or $10 sensor wholesale. I mean, I don't know, but you see the logic I used to get there. So if you have to buy 40,000 of them at $5 or $10 a piece, it's a lot of freaking money. That's why they're not making any more of them. I don't know what sensor it is, Rob Haas. I don't know. I mean, I assume it's a Sony sensor. I don't know for sure, though. Ciati points out, I guess that means they've sold 40,000 cameras with that bigger sensor. Yeah, I mean, and as far as I know, Ciati, so here's what I know about the Eagle. There was a time a little while back where they said, we're running out of our first order of sensors and we're not sure we're going to reorder. And I said, okay, well, I hope you do. And they did. So right now they're in their second order. So I would estimate, 80,000. It's a lot of freaking cameras. But I don't think we're going to sell 40,000 more of them. So. WL Flag says, I'm looking at the Hype Train Blaster motors. Would you say the slower KV motor has more torque? No. I know people say that lower KV motors have more torque. That's strictly speaking not true. The real answer is that the difference is that there's a lot going on between voltage, amperage, KV, torque, and it's impossible to really just sum it up like that. So, I would say that a lower KV motor on 6S outperforms by a small margin a higher KV motor on 4S, but it's hard to say, what all that is about. OCD FPV is showing what the screen looks like. OCD FPV, wrong screen. Here's what I would do if I were you, dude. It looks to me like the black box on your screen relates to the position of your OSD. Like, if you take your disarmed warning and move it up, does the black box move? You see what I'm getting at? If you disable all these OSD elements, does the black box change? That's what I would suggest, and that would help us home in on the cause. James Barwick, thank you for another $20, James. You're incredibly generous. Thank you. If you've got the T16, you will be able to just follow along. Yeah, Momaiden U, that's where I'm going with this too. Momaiden U suggests that it's a font issue in Betaflight. If moving the OSD elements changes where the black box is, the next thing I would do is re-upload the font. Calabresi 221 says, if you ever get the chance to do a side-by-side of the Ratel and the Eagle, the Ratel will be much clearer. That's interesting. Clearer how, I wonder? Brian Ladmiral wants to know, what motor battery combo do you run on your Banggood? I'm looking for longer flight time and less battery sag. Yeah, Brian, the problem with the Banggood for me was that my Banggood build was super heavy. It had a DJI Air unit. I mean, the frame is not a light frame, but the frame alone didn't account for the whole weight. I had the Banggood frame. I had 2208 motors, which adds weight. I had the DJI Air unit, and I had a GoPro 7 on it. It was 800 grams. So then the question is, what do you do to get better battery life? I mean, you can lower the KV of the motors. You can reduce weight. You can use lower pitch props. You could go, I mean, that 800 gram Banggood could have been a hell of a good, like I actually asked Catalyst, can we just convert this to a 7-inch? And they were like, well, the plates on the 7-inch are different than the plates on the 5-inch. I was like, can we just switch the arms? But no. I think that quad would have been a hell of a good 7-inch cruiser, but for a 5-inch freestyle, 800 grams was just too heavy. So how do you get longer flight times? Lose weight, lower KV motors, lower pitch props, larger battery, but larger battery is going to be heavier. Larger props, lower KV motor, larger props. Yeah. Those are things to do, Brian, but you just have to look at it and say, which of those things can we figure to do? Can you actually do? Can you afford? Peter Hale wants to know, what do you do in Betaflight to make your quad move slower in acro mode when you move the stick in the second half of full range? So what you're asking, Peter, let's break down what Peter's asking. When the stick goes past 50%, the quad is moving too fast. So if we look, if I got a quad here I can plug in, I do. Hang on. Let me plug this quad in real quick. Nope. Okay. So let's take a look at the Betaflight. No? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Are you for real? For real now? Why though? But why? Why won't it work? Plug in. No new COM port. Oh boy. Alrighty. Well, that's dumb. But okay. Let's try unplug, replug. All right. How about we plug it into... Okay. How about we plug this in directly instead of into a hub? I don't know what's going on here, but... Now I'm not even getting the sound. What the hell? Are you for real? Hang on. Most exciting live stream ever. Maybe it's my USB cable. How about now? What the flip? All right. Well, not that quad. How about this one? I just need any flight controller to plug in right now, so I can show these people the... How about now? Oh, no, I got it. Here's why. It's because Cura is running in the background and Cura grabs the COM port. That's the problem. Now it's going to work. Boom. Okay, thank God. My flight controller's not broken. So, if we look at the receiver here, the PID tuning tab, the rate profile settings, if you want to affect the speed that the quad spins in the second half of the stick travel, the thing to change is the super rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my roll super rate to 0, and I'm going to leave my pitch super rate alone. And what I want you to see is, I wish I could zoom in on this, but hold on a second. Oh my God, I can. Technology. What I want you to see is that, look at the red line and notice that for like the first, say, 30% of the stick travel, the red line pretty much overlaps with the other ones. The super rate adjusts a curve that mostly affects the end of the stick travel. So we made a pretty extreme example by going from 0.76 or 0.72 to 0. Let's refresh this. So let's change this from 0.76 down to like 0.60. Oops. 0.60. No. So now take a look. Stop. If you take a look here, you can see again, for about the first third of the travel, the red line is mostly overlapping the other two. But then we're adjusting basically the last 2/3 of the travel. And so if I wanted to make the quad slower at full stick deflection, while mostly leaving the center stick alone, I would reduce the super rate. Now you can tweak this as much as you want. So for example, if I reduce the super rate, hang on one second. Okay, so if I reduce the super rate, I go, well, yeah, but it's starting to fall off at 50%. So what I could do is I could try increasing the RC rate and try to just tweak the line. But what I would basically do is reduce the super rate. That's the takeaway. Okay, now I haven't seen the chat while I've been doing this, so let's see what anybody... How do you type upside down? I don't know about that. Have you messed with the rates in the transmitter instead of tweaking the flight controller? Major Tom asks. No, Major Tom, you get so much more flexibility with Betaflight rates, the ability to tweak the curves exactly how you want them. OpenTX, you could change the rates linearly, raise them up and down, but the ability to have custom curves is so good once you figure out how to tweak the numbers the way you want them. So, no, I just leave my rates linear, 1,000 to 2,000 in the transmitter. I only mess with the rates in the flight controller. Solvend FPV wants to install a RX4R receiver in the ready-made RC Recruit wing. Solvend, if you've got a flight controller, then just use S-Bus and let the flight controller handle the servos. If you don't have a flight controller, it may make sense to use a receiver with PWM outputs, which the RX4R, I think it has 4 PWM outputs. Hang on one second. Pardon me. Raku wants to know what I think about the Vaz Skyhammer antenna. It's a high-gain Omni antenna. In general, I don't want high-gain Omnis on my goggles because Omnis... high-gain antennas are more susceptible to orientation changes because they have a larger null. And I move my head all over the place when I'm flying. If you had a ground station or if you knew you were going to hold your head steady, then a high-gain Omni could make sense. But I just don't. I don't want to do that. The Skyhammer is a great antenna. I just don't think it's the one for me. John Solo says, what's the easiest way to lower your rates while keeping the center stick field the same? Well, again, John, it sounds like what you're saying is you want to reduce the full deflection spin while keeping the center stick field the same. I would reduce the S rate in Betaflight. That's what I would do. Do I see the comments? Asks Venki Gaming. Yes, I do. I saw your comment, Venki. I don't see all the comments. If you really want to make sure I see your comment, hit that, okay. If you really want to make sure I see your comment, hit that $ right there at the bottom of the chat and leave a super chat like this one from Snaggletooth FPV. It's a $10 super chat, but it doesn't have a question. Okay. And MC's Creations, thank you for 5 Brazilian reais. Joshua, you know I'm from Brazil, so I couldn't go to the protest, but I just wanted to ask, does anyone do a new Naruto run there for me? I'm sure that we can arrange a Naruto run. Thank you for 5 reais. Marcelino Romero wants to know how to update the FreeSky RXSR from the Jumper T16. So, Marcelino, the Jumper T16 doesn't have the plug on the bottom of the radio like the FreeSky X-Lite and the QX7 and the other FreeSky radios do. You can flash the receiver using the JR module bay pins in the back, but the pinout is not like you might expect. A great resource is Oscar Leong's website. Oscar has a article about flashing FreeSky receiver. No, not using pass-through. No, not the internal module. Come on. And Come on. Yeah, this is what you want. So this is what you want. You're going to need to connect this correctly up to your receiver. And Oscar has instructions about how to connect it up. Yeah. So you can, and this is a Tyrannus, but you could flash your jumper. The jumper would work the same way. So this is how you would flash using a jumper. Peter Hale wants to know the best antenna combo for flying in the house. Probably for flying in a house, I would want to have 2 Omni antennas. The reason for that is that in a house, I think you're more likely to be flying all around yourself, as opposed to an patch antenna will focus your signal in one direction. If you know for a fact that you're sitting like in a corner of the house and you're facing where you're flying, then a patch antenna will help with penetration. Sahib in the Discord wants to know what you consider the best flying features experience, Flight 1 or KISS. That's a tough question, Sahib, because everybody has their own preferences. I am super impressed that Flight 1 Falco X has this OSD-based configurator. That's pretty slick. KISS, people who love KISS say that nothing else flies like it, though. So I think that they all fly well. I think that Betaflight, KISS, you can find excellent pilots who fly any of them. And really, there are other factors that would make you make a decision about the ecosystem you put yourself into, other than just, which one flies the best. Boom! Boom! OCDFPV has turned his OSD on and off, and now the black box is gone. So that does confirm that it was the OSD that was doing it, though, dude. That's good. Yeah, we solved something. KD2RHD Larry wants to know, do 4.3 cameras work okay on a 16:9 display like the Fat Shark Scouts? Larry, there's 2 choices here. The goggle may stretch the image, in which case it's stretched, but, people still fly with it. Or the goggle may have the ability to letterbox the image, in which case, just which your goggle supports. And I don't know off the top of my head which the Scout supports, whether it supports letterboxing or not. I would guess that it doesn't, but I don't know. Venky Gaming, don't play stupid games with me about, oh, if you see your comment, oh, are you really live? Read my comment if you're really live. I'm not playing stupid games with you, dude. If you have a question, I'll be glad to answer your question. But if your question is, hey, if you see my comment, who's got time for that? Jesse T says, Scout stretches 4.3 only. Okay, so it stretches, it doesn't letterbox. Alexis Brown, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Alexis, your user icon makes me smile every time I see it. I don't know what your user icon is or if that even looks like you, but it's a cute little icon. I like it. Alexis Brown, thanks for $5 of the super chat. Just built a toothpick off a Mobula 7. RPM filtering on, but getting prop wash. What should I look into to start fixing it? RPM filtering on. The next step after RPM filtering is to reduce the filters. So don't just turn RPM filtering on, because that's more filtering, not less. So what you want to do is, after you turn RPM filtering on, start moving those filter sliders to the right. And the more you can get them to the right, the better the prop wash handling will be. But watch out for hot motors, because you can smoke a motor or get a flyaway. Okay? Monkey FPV, thanks for $5. Is Project Mockingbird a good idea for a Meteor 65? Project Mockingbird, every tune they put out is amazing. So if they have a tune for it, yes, do it. I thought the Meteor 65 flew pretty good stock. I turned up the level strength to make the stick feel in auto level mode sharper, but I thought it was pretty good out of the box. But Project Mockingbird just makes everything better. So yes, it's a good idea. Is it a good idea? Period. Yes. Redbeard, the the Pilot, thanks for $5 towards the DC Drinking Fund. Thank you very much. Big Oily Guy, thanks for $5. Big Oily Guy wants to make sure I saw your comment. I do see your comment, Big Oily Guy. Was there another comment I was supposed to see? Sam Carmel, thank you for $5. I'm having problems with my nameless RC Nano VTX. Can't seem to get it to change channels or power settings. It's set up correctly in Betaflight. Sam, it probably isn't set up correctly in Betaflight because the VTX tables are a pain in the ass. So here's what to do, Sam. Probably your VTX table power levels are incorrect. Sam, rather than try and sort this out on the live stream, will you message me on Facebook? Send me a picture of your VTX table, and I will look at it and go, oh, no, that doesn't look right. Okay? I'll be glad to help you. Big Oily Guy has a question he's trying to get me to answer. Let's see if I search. Big Oily Guy wanted to make sure I saw his comment. 1100 is mint, he says. Red Cat, he says. I don't see anything else, though. I'm sorry, dude. Jeremy Seahorn, thank you for $2. Wants to know what my preferred affiliate is. I appreciate you thinking of me, but just shop wherever is most convenient to you. If it's an affiliate of mine, thank you for your support. But, like, if you have a particular affiliate who has better shipping for you or better customer service, you should just use them. Any of my affiliates, I try not to play favorites. I value all of my affiliates equally. And I wouldn't want you to choose a worse customer experience for you in order to give me a tiny bit of additional revenue. I would just rather you use whatever works best for you. Which goggles do I go to most at the moment? Asks Dan Zabinski. Thank you for $2, Dan. To be honest, it's the DJIs, but not because of any preference of mine. I still love flying analog quads and love my analog goggles. However, the builds I've been doing lately and the quads I've been testing, the thing is that all these vendors want to sell DJI stuff, and so I'm kind of inundated. Like, I was going to do this Newbie drone build as an analog build, but Newbie drone was like, well, the frame is made for DJI. I was like, oh, crap. And then I got the Transtech Beetle, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, it's DJI. So, like, you know, at any given time, I have a pile of gear that people want me to review, and at any given time I go, oh, that looks interesting. And just lately, most of it is DJI because that's what people have. So that's what I've been flying. So. Redbeard the Pilot, thanks for $5. Now that you've mastered drone motors, when can we expect your build of a Project FDL FT3 Nerf compatible blaster? Oh, Nerf is its own thing, dude. I don't know about that. Francesco Positron, I am using a Lumix G85 for streaming with an HDMI capture card. That's my my Lumix G85 and G95. That's my go-to camera for basically everything I do. Works for me. Ted Morozzi, thank you for $5 Australian. 5-inch racing frame that's durable for beginners. You know what, Ted? The TBS Source 2. The Source 1 is a freestyle frame. The Source 2 is a racing frame. It's an open source frame design. There are so many good frames, but just that one is available the world over, and it's cheap as hell, and it's reasonably durable. That's always the one that I sort of start with. Kebab's frames are really nice and durable and fly really well. So, Venki Gaming wants to know when the $1,000 giveaway is. You mean when it was? You mean when it was? I already announced the winners for the Tango 2 giveaway. They have already been announced on my channel. I can tell who has the notification bell on. Yeah. I gave away 5 TBS Tango 2s. So that's the $1,000 giveaway. 5 times 200 is 1,000. The winners have already been notified, and the announcement video went up on my channel. So, there you go. Variance Within wants to know the highest quality camera it isn't a GoPro that you would use with an FPV quad. Variance Within, the only camera that even seems interesting right now is the Insta361R. Everything else is inferior to a GoPro, but the Insta might not be inferior. I guess there's a Blackmagic micro camera that might be good. But the Insta360 let's talk about that. This thing is super exciting right now. It's modular, which means, like, does it mean that you definitely want to, like, tape it together or something? But it's modular. It can have a standard 4K element. It can have a 4K. It can have a 360 element, or it has a special element with a 1-inch sensor on it, 1-inch sensor and a Leica lens, which sounds pretty freaking interesting. That 1-inch sensor is going to give way better image than anything GoPro has ever done. It's going to be expensive as hell, and you wouldn't want to crash it, but this is pretty interesting and exciting. I haven't tested it, but it does look pretty neat. Anyway, the Insta360 if you're not going to go GoPro, it definitely is worth a look. Well, here's the 1-inch edition. There you go. So this has got a 1-inch sensor with a Leica glass. And it's just, people have compared them side by side, say that the contrast, the shadow detail, the color detail you get out of that 1-inch sensor is amazing. There we go. Yeah, Athril, you're right that there are other good action cams out there, but like you say, none of them have super view, and actually the Insta360 doesn't have super view either. But you asked. It's super view and hyper smooth that keep me coming back to GoPros, and that Best Buy warranty. There you go. Is it out yet? I'm not sure about that. I think someone on my Discord said she ordered it, so yeah. Younglist FPV is wanting to know if I will be doing antenna testing on the DJI system. Younglist, that's not high on my list of things to test. I will say that I have informally found that the TrueRC stubby antennas are a little better than the stock antennas, even though they're both Omnis. And the TrueRC XAir is a very nice directional antenna for the DJI system. The VAS, the Video Aerial Systems, what is it, the Odin? What is he calling it? He has a directional antenna as well that, I mean, just based on his reputation, certainly is worth a look. But I don't think I'll be testing them. Yeah. Christopher Robin wants to know tips on getting Propwash out of a 75mm whoop. Definitely want to be running RPM filtering, and then move those Betaflight 4.1 filter sliders to the right to reduce filtering. That's the gist of how to get rid of Propwash on any quad. Scott Steely, thank you for a $10 super chat. You did a build video for the newbie drone Infinity, and there's no mode for horizon or angle mode. Well, yeah, you can put it in the modes. Just add that mode and set it up on an aux switch using the same method that I used to set the other modes up. You totally can do that, Scott, for sure. You just need to add the angle mode and then assign an aux switch to it, and that's it. Have I missed any super chats? I don't think so. I don't think so. Just for the record, sometimes with the super chats, I don't work forward. I go to the end and work backward. So if it seems like I missed yours, I may just be working back to it. Don't freak out. Andrew Mitchell wants to know how to set up FPV Air 2 with the QX7. The controls keep twitching and jumping around. Andrew, I had a similar problem. I have FPV Air is a simulator. It's on Steam. It's smaller and less well known, but some people say that it flies really amazing. However, I also had a big problem getting the controller to work with it. I don't have a solution. I did eventually get it to work. Did I? I may not have ever gotten it to work. Yeah, so I don't have a solution, but I can tell you that you're not alone in having that problem. Venki Gaming wants to know why I don't have a review on the FlySky i6, because the i6 is like a, what is there? There's nothing to review about. It's like if you have $40 and no more to spend on a transmitter, the i6 is solid. But like, there's not a, what are you gonna? And it's like, 5 years old, and like it's not a bad transmitter, but there are way better. But the thing is, Venki, like a lot of times there are so many products out there that I don't have time to review them all, and that's why I created this website. And this website is fpvknowitall.com. I hope you'll check it out, Venki. It contains my ultimate FPV shopping list, which is where, like, if there are products out there that I think are worthy of mention, but I don't, like, I can only make so many videos a year. Like, I typically make 4 or 5 videos a week. So that's, let's say I make 250 videos a year. Well, there's way more than 250 products a year that I could review. And I have to pick, I mean, first of all, some of my videos aren't product reviews. Oh my God, what a concept. I'll do a tutorial. But it's just, I have to make the cut as to what I'm going to review and what is not going to get reviewed. And the FlySky i6 just doesn't make the cut of like, let's make a video reviewing it. But when I'm in a situation like that, I'll go to my website, which the Ultimate FPV Shopping List. If we look in the section on my website about controllers and receivers, here in this section, cheapest worth having, the FlySky FSI6. So you say, why didn't you review the FlySky FSI6? Well, I did. It's just a text review instead of a video review. Here's what I had to say about the FlySky FSI6. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Here we go. Venki, this is just for you, buddy. The FlySky FSI6 is a cheaply made radio that is totally redeemed by its software features and its robust receiver selection. Once upon a time, you would have had to buy a much more expensive controller in order to get features like 6 channels, digitally adjustable channel endpoints, programmable channel mapping. Today, even cheap radios are computer controlled, and so it's easy for manufacturers to add these once premium features to a budget controller. If you're interested, you can even install custom firmware on it to turn it into a 10-channel radio. The downside of this radio is it lacks the build quality of other radios. The stick gimbals especially are not excellent. And since that's the way you actually fly the quad, it matters more than you might think. But many beginners start with this radio and stick with it even after they could afford an upgrade. Another advantage of this radio is that it uses the same FlySky receivers as the Turnigy Evolution radio, and there are also higher-end FlySky radios, so if you do decide to upgrade, you don't have to refit your whole fleet with new receivers. The recommended receiver is the X6B. Don't be tempted by the FSA-8S, which is smaller but has serious issues with electrical interference. I should change that. The Flea 14 Plus is really the best FlySky receiver today. If you're looking to get into the air at the absolute bottom price, the FSI6 is the radio you'll buy. See, Venki Gaming, I have now reviewed. I've now reviewed the FSI6 in response to your comment, which I did see. Ha ha. All right. So this is the problem. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Pay attention to the people who are annoying in chat. It just encourages them to be more annoying. Any new battery chargers, or is the HobbyMate still the way to go? I still like the HobbyMate. I mean, there may be something new out there that's like, but I still like the HobbyMate. That's still my go-to. Cement Kid wants to know if I've played around with the TPA individual terms with EmuFlight. Do you see it as an advantage as opposed to regular TPA? Cement Kid, I think what you mean is that you can individually adjust TPA for the P and D. That's an interesting concept. I haven't played too much with it. In general, I mean, didn't Betaflight make TPA? I know Betaflight made TPA stop affecting the I term a long time ago. In fact, story time. TPA used to affect P, I, and D together. And what that meant is that when you raise the throttle, the I term would be reduced and the quad would get super floppy. But when you're going the fastest, you don't want the I term to be reduced and get super floppy. And I said to Boris, what if TPA only affected P and D and not I? And then shortly after that happened, and to this day, I feel, I mean, I may not have been the only one to think of that, but I kind of feel like I take credit for that. So I'm kind of proud of myself, you know. But I think lately, didn't they take D out of TPA as well? I'm not sure. It feels like TPA. I mean, it really depends on how it's working with the PID loop as a whole. I'm not sure whether it would be an advantage for Betaflight, but I haven't played around with it in EmuFlight, so. Can you fly octocopter configuration using a single Betaflight flight control board? I mean, if the flight controller has 8 motor outputs, yes. Yep. If you want to fly an octo, you need a flight controller with 8 motor outputs or more. Is it just the D term 661 FPV? They took it off P and they only have it on D. I knew that something had changed in like 4.0. It only does D now. Okay. Can you FPV with Dragon Link? Sure, why not? What charger do you use for charging 18650 and so on batteries? So what I use is just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the exact charger I use. Oh, no, this is it. I use this. Actually, I have a 4-bay that I use, but basically something like this is what I use. Just this kind of dumb little, this kind of thing. You know, nothing special. Just plug the battery in and away you go. How is the DJI video transmitter FCC compliant? Asks RCWCK. I guess RCWCK, I would ask you, how is it not FCC compliant? I mean, they did get their Part 15 certification. Quadrophenia points out that Betaflight TPA can be TPA can be either D or PD. Which is it by default though, Steve? Cody R says, please do an episode on pin.io. Cody, my real pit video just shows how to use pin.io to set up a real pit. There's more that pin.io can do, but that's the gist of what you might want to do with it. And it's basically just you put the pin.io command in, map it to a pin, and then you set the aux mode up. I mean, it's just that simple, right? No. John Solo and Boots the Monkey in the Discord, thanks for being patrons, guys. They're wondering about tuning. So I said to get rid of Propwash, the first thing you do is you enable RPM filtering. The second thing you do is you work the sliders, the filter sliders to the right until they get to 2.0 as the slider. But then what do you do? I mean, if you are filter sliders at 2.0, the motors are cool, the quad is not showing signs of excess noise. The next thing I do is I turn off the gyro filter 2. This probably doesn't have Betaflight 4.1 on it, I bet. That's a shame. And if this says Betaflight 4.1 on it, I'll show you. It has 4.0. Damn. Yeah, so, well, it's not going to look the same. But the next thing I do, see, right here, gyro 2 is different than, anyway. So work the sliders all the way to the right, then turn off gyro low pass 2. Then turn off gyro low pass 1. Then turn off D-term low pass 2. Don't turn off D-term low pass 1. Your quad will fly away. Most people will probably start seeing diminishing returns. Like gyro, setting the sliders to 2.0, there's a lot of room for even still improvement after that on some quads. But by the time you've got the gyro filters turned off, I think there's limited room for improvement. The thing is that as you reduce latency, right, you get to this point of diminishing returns. And the risk of turning those filters off, the risk of flyaway or smoked motors goes up substantially. So the other thing, let's not forget that we're spending so much time thinking about tuning filters, but you can also be tuning your P and your D gain. So I would say that after the filter sliders are at 2.0, the next thing to start thinking about doing is tune the D gain and raise the D gain to see if that helps with your prop wash handling. Nick Sebring asks, will it fly away even if you disarm? No, if you disarm, it'll stop flying away. But then it'll fall out of the sky and crash, and that's not good. Giloban, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Caffeinator, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Do you have a recommendation for a D16 tiny whoop that can handle flying outside, for example, around my house, and is also safe inside? Caffeinator, I would say, I mean, the obvious choice for an outdoor tiny whoop would be a 2S tiny whoop, like the Tiny Hawk 2, or like the Mobula 7, or like the Eachine Trash Can. Any of those 2S tiny whoops can fly outside and are great inside. But personally, I think that the new crop of 65mm 1S tiny whoops hold their own outdoors. Like the Mobula 6, the 25,000 kV of the Mobula 6, or the 22,000 kV version of the Beta FPV Meteor 65. Those guys actually are surprisingly good for such a little light quad at outdoor flying. In a windy, if it gets windy, they're gonna struggle. But I had a lot of fun flying them, doing like a 20 gram quad has no fling, so you're not gonna be doing like flingy split S's over a tree. But I had a lot of fun flying them outdoors, just cruising around, and I would pick the Mobula 6 or the Meteor 65. The thing is with those guys, you just give yourself like a throttle limit, and they're great indoors as well. Christopher Robin wants to know, have you tried 96 kilohertz? Yeah, everybody's talking about changing the motor PWM frequency in your BL Heli S tiny whoops using JESC or using Jazz Maverick firmware. And I have videos about that stuff. You search my channel for 48 kilohertz. Increases flight time by maybe as much as 20 or 30%. And so 48 kilohertz is what people are doing. And now they're coming out with 96 kilohertz. Where at 48 kilohertz, basically everyone who tried it got longer flight time, cooler motors, better flying. Just 48K was just an advantage for almost everybody. 96K, the people I'm talking to who are trying it, is not universally an advantage. And there are more ESCs that won't run 96K. You'll get desyncs and stuff. So 48K, definitely do it on your tiny whoops. 96K, not necessarily, not as much of an advantage. Prairie Mac FPV suggests the King Kong GT8. Monkey FPV, thank you for $2. Can I use the X-Lite to fly a sim on the PC via USB? Yes, absolutely, Monkey FPV. Just plug in the USB. You'll get a pop-up on screen that asks if you want mass storage or game or joystick. Pick joystick. You're good to go. License to Drive wants to know, linear VTX antennas are supposed to be 12.9 millimeters, right? I don't have that number memorized off the top of my head, like, 31 millimeter for 2.4 gigahertz. So, like, it should be about half of that, right? I don't know. Why do so many whoops have different length antennas? Many Mobula 6 have 16 millimeter. License to Drive, it's hard for me to believe that they just did that by accident. Remember that the length of the antenna depends on the propagation speed of the signal in the antenna. As the signal moves slower, the wavelength gets longer. So 12.9 millimeters may be 5.8 gigahertz divided by the speed of light, right? But the signal in that little coaxial cable is not moving at the speed of light. It's moving at some fraction of the speed of light, and that may be why the antenna is longer. Presumably, the engineers at Happy Model didn't just go, 16 millimeters sounds good. Presumably, they have a reason for picking that length. However, maybe it's just dumb and it's the wrong length. I mean, I've seen sillier things. Stephen Long wants to know, I'm new to FPV. Should I get DJI with analog external input, or should I start with the SkyZone Skyo 3.0 to learn on tiny whoops and get DJI later? Stephen, that question has a lot to do with your budget. If you are just getting started, It's tough because, I mean, like, on some level, I want to say if you're just getting started, don't spend $600 on your goggles, right? But if you, like, knew for a fact that you were going to be in the hobby for the next 3 years, then why would you buy a $100 set of goggles and then a $300 set of goggles and then a $600 set of goggles? Like, you may as well just go for it, right? So the first question I ask when people ask that question is a $600 set of goggles in your actual budget? And if the answer is no, then Sky Zones are great goggles. Just get the Sky Zone. Sky 03, not the Sky 030, because it has a latency problem. Hopefully it'll get fixed, but yeah, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. That's the Eachine, not the Sky Zone. The Sky 030 is fine. I'm so sorry, Sky Zone. The thing is, if you want to fly high def, then DJI is the option as of today. And DJI can fly whoops and stuff. So, whereas if you get the Sky Zones, learn on your whoops, and then you say, oh, I want to try DJI. Now you got to go buy the DJI goggles. So, there you go. Dan Richmond, you are correct that the 48K PWM frequency makes the motor braking a little weaker. But I guess for tiny whoops, it doesn't matter. I have no idea. People seem not, I mean, they still seem to fly fine. Omoshi Oine wants to know when the Radiomaster TX16S is coming out. It was, I heard that they were shooting for like the end of, like the March time frame, as the rumor I heard. I'm sure that the coronavirus has pushed that back, though. My guess would be April time frame. However, I don't know. I don't know any secret inside info. If they told me anything, I'd tell you. Ungrounded Pilot, thanks for $5 about octocopter config. You can double up the motors onto output channels. Well, for example, with 2 parallel ESCs. Yes. You can... No. No, I don't think you can. It depends on the config. If your configuration of your octocopter is coaxial quad, then you can double up. So in other words, if you got 2 motors, one on top of the other. I guess they don't have to be on top of the other. Depending on the way that your motors are spinning and your props are laid out, you could do it with 4 motor outputs on your flight controller and 8 ESCs. That's not how it's usually done. Good point, Ungrounded Pilot. Jeff FPV, thank you for $5. New Tyrannus doesn't have D8. I miss my whoops. What's the best mod for D8 that won't work with my old Tyrannus with a failed RPSMA mod? I mean, if you get the FreeSky XJT module, it supports D8. If you get the Jumper 4-in-1 module, it supports D8. There's also a multi-protocol module that fits on the mic, depending on which Tyrannus you've got. If it has the micro module or a JR module, there is the iRange X multi-protocol module that fits in the new Tyrannus Lite module bay. Ken Hill, Monkey is still having problems getting his X-Lite to work with his game controller. Yeah, if you long press to go to Radio Setup, at the bottom of that menu, there's an option to choose what happens when you plug in USB. It needs to be set to Ask. Otherwise, it'll default to 1, like mass storage, and it may not be what you want. Wow. I hope I'm not losing my voice. That would be depressing. FP Drew wants to know if we did anything else with that over-under octo in the You Build It, We Fly It video. We did not. We broke it, we crashed it, and we sent it back to him. The agreement was always that we were going to send it back to him. He couldn't afford to just give it to us to just say thanks. This was just some guy who made this octo that we flew for Rotor Ride, this little 3-inch octocopter. He made it. We thought it was cool. He was like, do you want to fly it? We were like, sure. So he sent it to us, but the agreement was always that we were going to send it back to him. So then when we crashed the shit out of it and broke it, and of course he knew that was a risk, so but we sent it back to him, and then we never saw it again. Phantom FPV is in the chat. Hello, Phantom. Phantom and I have been talking about some top speed stuff. 8S 2850 kV equals fire. I mean, Phantom, that's going to be one of two kinds of fire. The thing is, I happen to know that there's somebody out there running 6S 2600 kV without anything exploding, and I would have said that was like completely out of the question. The thing is, I mean, if you do the math for 8S 2850 kV, eventually the thing you gotta check on is your tip speed. Once your prop tip goes supersonic, you're done, right? You know that. So I mean, I would want to do the math on the RPM and see if that's gonna. Obviously, you're not going to achieve that. You're not going to achieve the full no load RPM under load. But at some point you'll cross a line where you're just not getting any advantages. So maybe if I was going to build an 8S 2850 kV quad, first I would test on 6S. I mean, you could always just work the battery voltage up, couldn't you? You could also test it with a throttle curve, I guess. If you do fly 8S 2850 kV, I'd like to see the DVR. 93,000 RPM. Okay, but what's the tip speed? Do you know the tip speed? What happens when a prop tip goes supersonic? Asks Bren the Wizard. Well, Bren, I mean, like, I'm not an expert on fluid dynamics, but when you exceed the speed of sound in a medium, all kinds of crazy shit happens that makes your airplane explode. That's the gist of it. You get crazy shock waves, and when a prop tip approaches the speed of sound, you get crazy fluttering vibrations. You can damage the prop. Basically, you always want to keep it below. So let's see. Tip speed calculator. Let's see if we can figure this out. Prop tip speed calculator is really what we want. 93,000 RPM. Here we go. Use this calculator at your own risk. Okay, everybody, strap in. The prop diameter is going to be 5 inches. The RPM is going to be 93,000 RPM. Go. So 1383 is the prop tip speed in miles per hour. The speed of sound is 767 at 20 degrees Celsius. So assuming you actually get close, what percent is that's like 50%? Jeez. 1383 out of 767. You're at 1.8 times the speed of sound if you were to actually achieve the no load RPM. Now, we know for a fact that when you put a prop on a motor, you will never achieve the no load RPM. So that 2800 kV is not going to produce 93,000 RPM. But you can see that, I mean, you're at 1.8 times the speed of sound. Even if you only produce 75% of your no load RPM, you're still going to exceed the speed of sound. So like I'm not telling you not to do it. It would be epic. But I feel like if you're shooting for 8S, then probably a lower KV. Because, I mean, if you were to fly that rig and not break the sound barrier with your tip, then you're wasting almost like half of your RPM, of your potential RPM. And it seems like that's a real waste. Anyway, but like if you, I mean, like, I kind of want to just say do it and tell me what happens. Yeah. I really think I'm really glad there's people in the world who like I just did a bunch of math and my math says that you shouldn't do this. But I'm really glad there's people in the world who don't listen to my math because, like, what the hell do I know? 8S 2750 kV, send it. Aiden Rocky, you've been trying to get me to answer this question. Thank you for your persistence. What are your thoughts on the Sedora SL5 as a starter quad? I think it's a great starter quad. The Sedora is a pretty solid bind and fly, ready to fly. I reviewed the Sedora. iFlight makes good gear. iFlight makes great motors. There are cheaper starter quads out there, but the Sedora is pretty solid. So if that's what you're leaning toward, Aiden, I would encourage you to go for it. Ferocitor says if you exceed the speed of sound, mostly it just gets a lot louder. Yeah, I mean, like, I know that there are problems with buffeting and vibration. The number one thing that I think happens if you exceed the speed, and by the way, we're not talking about the quadcopter exceeding Mach 1. We're talking about the very tip of the prop exceeding the speed of sound. You just lose a shitload of efficiency. So it's like, there's no point. Once you, and it's not even like, it starts happening at 80 or like before the speed of sound, you start losing efficiency due to these effects. And it's like, if you want to do that, you got to find a way to do it without your prop exceeding the sound barrier. Nick Schwartz all right, Nick has linked to this video of the RC Addict flying the 4-inch Baby Hawk on 6S with no throttle limit. Let's do it.
And today we're going to be doing something a little dumb.
Yeah, something a little dumb. Pay attention.
6S.
It'll be fine.
They asked me how.
This is a 4S quad, but we're gonna fly it on. No, RC Addict's gonna fly it on 6S. Let's see how.
It is this extra voltage.
Pretty good so far.
At like 10% throttle. That's literally a
Hear that oscillation?
like a 20% throttle punch there.
Woo! Oh, you hear the oscillations? Did he retune it?
kV, which is definitely
I don't think he. Oh God! Listen to those oscillations. I don't think he retuned it. Did you hear it just going?
This thing is nuts.
Oh wow!
While we have full battery, try and do
lower that peak gain.
It's kind of hard, like, this thing is just so fast. It's really hard to control it. And I would say it's worth noting.
That's ridiculous! That's ridiculous!
You're probably not gaining much, so a 70% throttle cut probably is beneficial.
Oh my God. That was so ridiculous! Okay. Well, that was so stupid. Wow! That was a 4-inch. 60C1 FPV, that's a 4-inch for the record. It's the Baby Hawk 4, right? I think it was the 4-inch one. Oh my God. Okay, that was dumb. Wow. That was a great way to end the stream. Yeah! Oh, fear no. A smoke stopper shouldn't kill a quad that's working. I mean, if you have the smoke stopper plugged in, it may not allow you to power up. But, oh, that broke me. That broke me. I don't know what to do now. No, I never saw that vid, Griffin. Sorry. It just broke me, though. It's a good thing we're close to the end of the stream, because I just don't know what to... How do you follow that up? Wow. Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned, guys, it's that, and maybe this is because modern motors and ESCs are better than they used to be. It used to be if you tried to run like 2600 kV on 4S, the quad would just fall out of the sky with desyncs. And you'd have to have like 73 capacitors and tweak, high timing and demag and so forth. And maybe you could get it to fly. But these days, like, just take a typical freestyle build, slap some 6S on it and go. And it's kind of okay. So... yeah, maybe I need to rethink what's possible with high kV and high voltage, because I would have said, 6S 2600 kV, like it's just gonna. I mean, maybe you'll get a couple throttle punches, but it'll just fall out of the sky. But people are doing that, and look at this guy, just takes a 4S and just puts some 6S on it and just sends it. And even though the tune still needed some work, like. It didn't just light on fire and explode. It's pretty amazing. Anyway. I have not yet seen... No, Ciati's in the chat. I saw him earlier. It's coming up on 10 p.m. We have 5 minutes left on the stream. I'm going to be finishing up my stream in just about 4 minutes. Thank you guys for coming out. Don't go. Aaron Ciotti is going to be, I don't know for sure. He'll chime in if he's streaming. He usually streams after me at 10 p.m. on his channel. So hopefully he will pop up. This week on my channel, what's coming up this week? I like to close the stream with a little bit of that. Coming up this week on my channel, well, the Tango 2 video posted today. Check that out if you want to know my full review of, there's Ciotti, my full review of the TBS Tango 2. Tomorrow, the Eachine EV300D review. Wednesday, Project Mockingbird, EMU Flight, Mobula 6. Thursday, RunCam 5 versus the Caddx Orca. And Friday, a little bit of 3D printing content. I'm going to be putting... actually, I'm going to tweak this video. I'm going to be upgrading my Sovol to Marlin 2.0 firmware. I'm going to do manual mesh bed leveling. And then I'm going to install BL Touch and an upgraded mainboard on it. That'll probably be a couple of videos. But I may shuffle some of this around a little bit. But that's what's coming up this week. I hope you are looking forward to it. Pardon me, guys. Sorry. How uncouth. Chris Reaper has been wanting to know if the Tango 2 gimbals have less of a boxy feeling around center stick than a jumper. Chris Reaper, I'm not 100% sure I know what boxy feeling you mean, but I think what you mean is that there's like when you cause the stick to leave center, there's a little bit of resistance. I will say the Tango 2 gimbals are freaking good. I am not usually like a gimbal snob, but the TBS Tango 2 gimbals are freaking good. And I find that at center stick, they just cleanly leave and return to center. They're really good. So, pardon me. Woo. John Coop, minimum size motor for 7-inch. I mean, you can run 7-inch 2306, no problem. I don't think I'd go smaller than 2306. I mean, you probably could, but I feel like the lack of torque, once you get below 2306, I feel like the torque would be lacking. I think depends on whether you want to do cruising or freestyle stuff, but 2306, 2207 are fine for 7-inch. Steve Crittenden, thank you for a $10 super chat. Very risky to put super chats in at the very end of the stream. The stream may end and I wouldn't get to them. But Steve says, I left a good-sized comment on the FAA forum. I've only been flying for 2 weeks, but I know I'm in it for the long haul. I invested in HDO2 Rapid Fire X9D. My Tiny Hawk 2 won't trick in Acro Trainer. There's the question. In Acro Trainer, the whole point of Acro Trainer is that it will not turn upside down. That's the point. So plug that Tyrannus into a simulator, practice in the sim, and get in Acro mode and send it. All right, guys. 1 minute. Aaron, Ciotti, post your stream, dude. Post your stream. Ciotti's going to be streaming. If you go on a jump over there, he always does giveaway. He knows how to be successful on YouTube. He's doing giveaways, baby. He's doing giveaways and builds and Q&A. So, there it is. Ciotti, head on over there if you want to keep streaming. I am out of here. Thank you guys so much. See you around the internet this week. Good night, everybody.